Joshua, this is your lip sync exercise of the cat. This is looking really nice. Just a few comments to improve a few bits here. The first thing is, just like you would push a pose to try to find entertainment, you should also consider in your rough animation pushing your initial rough animation for the personality of certain bits. So you look at a certain business or a certain section, for example, this walk-in, him walking in. How can you make that more entertaining and more eye-catching? Not so much as drawing attention to itself, but being a really good performance. I'm taking you to that next level. Because mechanically everything is working fine. So I'm just thinking now in terms of performance, how can you go to that next stage of animation? So everything that you do, every drawing, every movement, how can it be better? How can it be filled with more personality and more entertainment? So the first thing you do is you look for places where it's neutral. This is sort of a neutral walk-in. He could be saying anything in this walk-in. So how can I make this more suited to this cat's personality, his voice, rather than just doing something generic? That's one thing I would think about. Can you make that entertaining and interesting? Thinking about his physicality as being a cat unique to other cats. The kind of personality he has, because he's overweight, he's out of shape, he's lost his mojo, he can't even mouse anymore, and the mice are not afraid of him. Psychologically, that does something to him. And here he's in a situation where he's coming forward to an audience who is us, demonstrating this. So he's got that sense of he's trying to teach somebody else how to get his life back in order. Here's my life beforehand, and here's what it's going to be after, kind of thing. So all those kinds of things you can think about and try to cue off of those for new ways of approaching things, so that anything that's neutral you can push. But in terms of a cat walking out, it's fine. But at speed, there's something in the speed. It's a bit jumpy, his head, so it's hard to follow him, and it might be just a lack of fluidity in the head, because like you've got this drawing here where his eyes suddenly go big and doughy-eyed, and then it's like it's an out-of-place drawing. You see how it's out of place between that one and this one? So those kinds of drawings sort of give a false impression of being unfluid. It sort of is a distraction that makes the eye think there's something not controlled there that's happening. And movements up and down, make sure you have solid arcs and you're conveying solid arcs. So here, him going down, his head going down. Let's get a new layer up here. I mean, he's doing this sort of thing, right? His head's up here, then it goes down here, and then it comes up here. Down. See, he's up here, now he's down. Up here, now he's down. Let me turn that off. Up, down, and then up. So what you want to do is you want to force the eye to feel the fluidity. Even though it's right that he's going up and down, you can tweak how you do this by forcing, instead of having that, then you think about, okay, I need to make sure the audience is clear on that, so I've got to have something like that forces the audience to say, okay, it's more fluid, and it's not that, it feels like that, right? It's a subtle difference. I'm getting you into more fine-tuning details, but that's one thing to think about. So when you're reviewing your work, look for those moments that are sort of abrupt and jarring, like a car on the road going right. You can have a car animated down the road, and in one it's got this nice fluid movement, but in another one it's hitting potholes, boom, boom, boom. So some of these drawings end up becoming potholes, even though they're in the right general vicinity, and it's still the movement of the car. These things can jar the eye and, make it more difficult for the audience to see what's going on and appreciate it. So that's nice. You could exaggerate that too. This is good. What I generally do in animation is I look for those things that are neutral or are sort of half measures. It's like your first attempt at drawing something in a certain pose, and the problem is we get too easily satisfied by our posing. So you have to spend time learning how to see where you can push. You have to have that vision to push it beyond what the first stab is that you end up doing. And pushing yourself to extremes. And by that I mean, like, this is a nice pose, but could you strengthen that pose? Let me turn this on. Could you make it stronger? Can he get that chest out higher? Maybe that arm can twist more. That elbow can come up more. His head can go back more, perhaps. I don't know. I'm just asking. These are the kinds of questions you want to think about. Can his arm go out more of a curve? Since everything else is more straight, can you add a curve in there, sort of the contrast thing, so that, it's pushing it. I mean, it's working here in just that little bit, just in those little shapes. How can that work? And then how can the tail, even though the tail is something secondary, and this isn't, I'm saying in terms that you've done something wrong, but I'm just saying in terms of any kind of posing, any kind of appendage like a tail, you want it to feel like it's more organic and part of the rhythm and flow. So can you lower that tail? Can you get a curve in it? Can it be more than just a C curve? There was a C curve I did just because it was natural for me. So I would come back and go, let's not try a C curve. Let's have one part of the curve slow and then more speeded up in terms of the turn. And then maybe put something on the end. I don't know. Think about how. Now, does that help it? No, that's kind of out of the way. That's not really supporting what's there. So maybe it can be more like that. Think about those things. Those little fine-tuning things that you address in your animation is going to go a long way and set you apart. So how can I push those things to make them stronger? Maybe I can go even more. Maybe I can go stronger than that. Let's try something. So if I pushed, I'm drawing this on the same drawing, unfortunately, but so here I'm thinking, let's push him more, get his chest out more, head back more, arm out more. Now it's getting a little weird. I can tell already it's really pushing. If I was able to turn that off, you'd see. But that's too much. So, but at least I went there, and I know it's too much, and I know I'm not going to do that. And look for those places where you can drag things maybe a little bit. Here, this is nice. He hits this. Maybe it would have been nicer if instead of going there on his hand, he hits that with his hand. On this one, his hand is a little bit more pushed. You push it even further to keep that fluidity going. His arm can react a little bit and go down and out perhaps. But let me get this out of the way. Well, can't see it because I got that other business here. Give her that. And then maybe on this one you could put a little more of a drag on it, his hand. Because then it gives a little bit très bon chasseur, you know. I don't know. Those are things. I'm just teaching how to think in this. So chasseur, maybe that's when you're listening to the dialogue. Chasseur, maybe you could get his head down and really grit those teeth and buried in his chest. Chasseur, just to push it. Because there it's a little bit neutral. Très bon chasseur, right? So, très bon chasseur. Now this is nice. Now what you've done here is really nice. I like that you've come down in a curve, and it's a pop into it. So he's curve pop. It's nice. It gives it that sense of snap that really sells that. That's a beautiful bit of animation there. This one is a little bit dead. Coming over here, it doesn't have the snap. Even though I see you've got a bit of a snap in there, I'm not feeling it. So you need to do the same thing. Bah, bah. And in fact, you think about how one is building to the next one. So is the next one going to be bigger, or is it going to be more subtle? And yours is more subtle. In fact, it deflates because it's missing that snap. You go boom, boom, and you're missing that boom. So think about that. And it feels like his tail is delayed in it. I'm not quite sure. But that's fine there. He did lose a little bit of volume in his head, especially on this in-between here. It got really small. So that's going to be one of those potholes drawings that sort of flubs things. But overall, this is very good exercise. You know, I'm pushing you a little bit further than what you're being used to, because overall it's a solid piece of work. Just I want to push you into the performance level of things. So good job.